Hey guys, thank you for clicking this video. In this video, I'm gonna be listening to Troy Deeney talk about Eberezer AJ joining Arsenal. Man, what a cool. Anyway, let's get started.
We said we would talk a little bit about Eberezer Eze and whether or not that he has made the right decision in going to Arsenal, because they had a great deal with Tottenham Hotspur, or certainly Tottenham Hotspur had made motions to agree a deal with Crystal Palace without getting it over the line. We'll talk about the Spurs angle in just a second. I was on a podcast yesterday with Henry Winter, the Premier League All Access podcast, which is available on YouTube, and he was talking about the fact that actually the route to first team football is easier at Tottenham than it is at Arsenal. But would you choose Arsenal over Spurs every day?
Every day. They're a team that keep finishing second and got aspirations to try and win, so the minimum requirement is that you're going to be Champions League every year.
There's a lot of competition there though, isn't there, for a start?
Yeah, look,
And you wonder what's going to happen to Madueke, to Nwaneri, Martinelli, Saka, Odegaard, Gyökeres, Eze. Trosso's just signed a new contract. There's a lot of options going forward. Now, obviously they needed options, they needed more goals, but is competition always a good thing?
no, because it creates conflict as well in the dressing room, and players get frustrated. I was talking about this the other day. If I was Ethan Nwaneri, at 17 years old, and I've just been told you're going to be playing, and then I don't play against Man United first and foremost. Again, as older people, we know that wasn't really the game for him, but as a 17-year-old, so when you told me I was going to play, now I'm not playing. And you brought an additional winger in, you signed Trossard for the deal, now you're bringing in Eze, who plays exactly in my place. I'm going to have to leave. And they're the kind of conflicts that kind of come up, and he's only 17 again, he wants to play, but the agents will start saying that, they'll start sniffing for some money. So, look, I like the move for the player. I don't get it, personally.
You don't get it from a club.
From a career perspective, if he goes in at Spurs, he can play as a 10, which he wants to do, and he's now that he plays week in, week out. If they really wanted to put him out on the left, and he's still the best left winger they've got there. So, and the way with Thomas Frank and the way it's going, you'll be in Europe this year, and maybe you can kick on, and you could have a massive chance of really putting Spurs back in the top four, getting in the World Cup as well. All of the boxes are ticked for that. With Arsenal, if you want to play as a 10, they've got to drop Odegaard, who's the captain, which we know is a difficult one anyway, because Arteta loves him.
Wasn't in brilliant form though, was he, second half of last season?
He hasn't been in brilliant form for a little while, but the point is, he hasn't dropped him, even when he wasn't. So now you bring somebody in, all of a sudden you're going to drop him. Then that sparked the conversation we had last week. Now he's not played, he made Bryce the captain. And how does that happen? There's all these little knock-on effects, the nuanced ones that happen in the change room now.
You think it could be more disruptive than
Potentially, yeah. Potentially has the potential to be really disruptive. Not because of him, just because of so many people in those areas.
Mikel Arteta is so conscious that they picked up injuries, not just last season, but the season before, and it really derailed their title, guys. That's why he's determined to have such a deep squad, 2, sometimes 3 players for every position.
Well, it gives him the resources to do what he hasn't done up until this point, which is rotate a lot more, especially in those forward areas. Obviously, the injury to Havertz, who I didn't mention in that bit, also contributes to this decision-making process.
Do we know how long Havertz is out?
I think it's going to be at least a few weeks. There's some suggestion in Germany that it will be months, maybe, as opposed to weeks.
It's a bit of a worry, isn't it? For him?
No, it is, yeah.
A lot of football over the last year or so.
No, I agree, and typically I said it last week, I can see a role in a universe where Havertz plays more than Gyökeres, and typically, as I said that the day after he gets injured, so makes me bullish for him.
I want to ask you about this other sort of facet of this whole story, because there was a little mural that sparked overnight as soon as the signing was sort of rumoured to be happening. There's pictures of Eze in an Arsenal shirt from when he was a kid, obviously he was in the academy. When it all works out rather romantically, it's all a very good thing, isn't it, that there is a connection between the clubs, and it all looks great PR. But in reality, do you players actually care about the sort of emotional connection with the club, the way that supporters do?
You'll never do it the way a supporter does, because that supporter goes to work Monday to Friday thinking about his heroes and thinking about how the weekend happens, and if they win or lose, it completely changes the dynamic of their weekend, and also they pay for it. element of when you're paying for something, you always going to want it, right? So we get paid to do it. That's the beauty.
But would you make a career choice based on your emotion rather than...
Of course would. I joined Birmingham City instead of Celtic. Because emotion.
Do you regret that?
Did you?
No, I'm not. I played for my hometown club when I was captain. No, of course I did.
Instead of Celtic?
Instead of Celtic, yeah.
Do you not regret the possibility of playing in Europe?
No. I'm from Birmingham. I've got to captain and manage. But that's
the point, right? I guess that's what I'm asking.
But I'm saying
his heart has actually overall his
of course it has, yeah, but I don't think you'll ever love it more than a fan, is my point. The fan that travels.
And I'm not suggesting that Tottenham's a better move for him, because actually all of the indicators point to Arsenal as a better option. They're consistently in the Champions League.
Yeah.
They're fighting for a league title.
Yeah.
They've got a deeper squad. They've got better players.
I agree.
So you would go for that. But if you're thinking from a personal development point of view, you could be the one that takes Tottenham to the next level.
Yeah. And World Cup year, you could be the one that's playing week in, week out. Everyone's talking about how good Thomas Frank is, how good Tottenham are, and you're the talking point.
Would there not be part of his thinking, though, that if he goes to Arsenal and he does get regular game time, he's got a better chance of catching Thomas Tuchel's eye if he's part of a title challenge than if he's at Spurs?
And the one thing with every player is they're not going to ever tell you that someone's better than them. So he's going to go in there and go, I'm better than Odegaard, I'm better than whoever, whichever position they want him to play. And maybe does he look at it and say, you know, Arteta's more settled, like that I'm going into a settled, you know, dressing room. Everyone knows how it is. He's been there, this is year 6 now. Thomas Frank's been in there, 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, look,
we're not also missing a big elephant in the room here. We've not talked about wages.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Arsenal can pay more wages than Spurs.
They usually do. They usually do. I mean, the headline... let's just change the angle a little bit, because we want to get the sort of Spurs angle on it, because on the face of it, it's obvious. You choose Arsenal because they're in a better place than Spurs right now, but we're just thinking here out loud that possibly he would play more if he was going to go to Spurs. There's a headline on one website this morning after missing out on Eze that says Savinho, Morgan Gibbs-White, Eze, other players too. Tottenham are now reeking of desperation. Are they really? Do they really need to sign a player in that forward position? Because I went through their squad yesterday and I can't work out where they're going to get someone in it anyway, because they've got Johnson, who was top scorer. Tell who they decided to sign in the summer, so they're not going to get rid of him. Odegaard, they only signed 12 months ago. Kudus, who they've just signed. Richarlison, who is playing. Solanke, who they bought last year for a huge amount of money. Kulusevski's injured, but they like him, and obviously he's got an
injured. That's the problem.
No, he's not.
He gets a lot of injuries, Kulusevski.
Kulusevski is a robust player. He's played a lot more games than most people in that Tottenham squad. Solomon's just come back from Leeds.
Yeah, he's not part of the future, I don't think, Solomon.
And Maddison's still on the
most of the season, Maddison, isn't
but they still got to pay him. So have they got enough money to be able to bring in somebody else, or do they need to sell first before they buy? And who can they sell?
But I'd say if you need to sell, you're probably leaving it a bit late now, aren't you? Try to sell players to get players in for 10 days left.
So they're not going to sign anyone, Tottenham, are they?
They're going to have to sign.
I always sound negative.
Why? Just to protect the fans?
I think to protect Thomas Frank. You know, I was there in Bilbao, even as he was sat there with the Europa League trophy. Ange Postecoglou was telling us the squad wasn't strong enough to compete in Europe and the Premier League. That's why, in his words, he, sacked off the second half of the Premier League season. They're in the Champions League now with some of the biggest clubs in Europe.
So why have they signed Odegaard? Why have they signed Tell? Why have they?
Tell's a strange one.
Why have they added to their squad in that area and then started to look for other players in that zone?
You say that area. I'm just looking at it. The players you've named there, other than Maddison, are strikers and wide players. Eze, in my opinion, is a 10.
That's Tottenham and Arsenal's opinion as well.
Yeah, he's a 10. So it's the one area that they're short. When you look at all the midfielders, and they've got a lot of midfielders as well, they're all the same type. So your Bergvals, your Basumas, your Sars, they're all up and downers. You need that 10. You need that creative spark. You need that little bit of an X factor. So for me, they should have got it done. But Spurs, I've had this question for about 8 years. What are Spurs?
I was just about to say the same thing. I don't know where to pigeonhole Tottenham this year. What is a success for Thomas Frank? Well, clearly it's not going to be finishing 17th like they did last year. It's going to be very hard to emulate what Postecoglou did and win a trophy, because Tottenham don't win trophies. History tells us that. Are we talking about them as top 4 contenders? No. Are we talking about them as top 6 contenders? Probably not at this moment in time. I think there's better squads around them in the Premier League. I don't know what.
No, I understand.
I think they need another centre half, and I think their goalkeeper position's still not 100% certain.
But this is what I was trying to say at the top of the show when we talk about Palace. It's like Spurs have just gone, oh, window shuts in 10 days, what should we do? You know the problems? The problems were evident last year. You had 12, 13 injuries. So, right, how do we get a squad that's ready to do that? They should have been, as soon as a window opened, right, there's 3 or 4 straight away in the building.
They do make a habit of collecting players who aren't good enough. You mentioned Matthias Tell there. I didn't see anything from Tell really last season to justify making.
But he's young, and they maybe think that he was value, and he's got a high ceiling.
Thank you guys. Yeah, thanks for watching. Leave a comment and subscribe. Yeah, and watch next video.